Okay. So I don't know if this is going to surprise many people, but I'm not a fan of John Bolton. I don't like John Bolton. He sucks. He is like the OG neocon. If you're unaware, he is like, every single terrible war that America has ever been in. He was there. He was somewhere in there. Like go look hard enough and you'll find his name attached to it. Iraq, Afghanistan. I assume that he did like more before that, like various interventions before that. I don't know if he was around for Vietnam. That might have been too long ago. John Bolton War Associations. Let's see if we can find some information real quick. Oh, wait. I spoke too soon. Bolton was a supporter of the Vietnam War, but avoided combat through a student deferment followed by enlistment. Wow. Someone born, okay. I'm curious if he was a draft dodger too. That would be like the ultimate, that's what I would expect him to be. But yeah, Reagan and George H.W., opposition to financial reparations to Japanese Americans held in World War II era internment camps. So he's pro internment camp. Oh, and he was, I think, the weapons of mass destruction guy, right? Yeah, he was the weapons of mass destruction. I think he was like the original like concoctor or like the original propagandist for the weapons of mass destruction narrative, or at least a prominent one. That's what I remember him mostly from. Claims about Cuban weapons of mass destruction. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess. And ambassador to the UN. Man, he is. Oh. Okay. Okay, well, there you go, people. Like I said, every single terrible war that America has ever been involved in, John Bolton was there, the OG neocon. But he ain't going to be there no more, people, because he has been found guilty. Now, was this lawfare? I don't know. We'll have to find out in this in this segment here whether we think that this is an appropriate situation. In general, I do not like lawfare. I sometimes relish a little bit in the downfall of my enemies, so there might be a little bit of that, but I will try to separate that from the idea of whether I think this is deserved or not and try to give some sort of accurate assessment here. This is John Bolton reaches plea deal over mishandling information. Let's go and watch this video from CNN.
President Trump's former national security advisor is expected to plead guilty over handling of classified documents. Sources tell CNN John Bolton has now reached a plea deal. Let's bring in our Caitlin Plant. She is in Washington. It's always breaking news. It tends to be around.
Well, if he's pleading guilty, then I guess that means he's guilty, right? I'm just kidding. I don't think that a plea deal in any way actually is like connected usually to whether you actually committed the crime or not.
And Donald Trump.
In general, I'm very opposed to plea deals on average. I think that they're a way to get people, like innocent people, to be too scared of actually going through the system of governance that like was created for us to try to protect people from unlawful prosecutions, aka a jury of your peers determining whether you are guilty or not. So in general, I am opposed to like plea deals at all. In fact, I mean, I would go so far to say that I don't even know if we should have plea deals. I think that it's also a way of like speeding through processes that aren't supposed to I guess what I'm saying is I feel like it makes it so that it's a very streamlined process to take innocent people and put them in jail, right? It makes it very easy to do that. And also to take people who would have been found innocent, who might be guilty, like let's say guilty of like smoking a joint or something back in the war on drugs days. Take a lot of people who might be guilty of that, but not putting them through the entire process that could have them found innocent if there's not a strong enough case, or if somebody wants to nullify nullify the jury, which is very possible and legal, by the way. You are allowed to nullify juries if you do not agree with the charges. Just don't tell the people who are asking you questions at the beginning that that's what you intend to do. You are allowed to do that, though. It's not a crime to nullify juries. So, sorry. Okay, I'm getting way off track. I need to lock in here. Let's talk about John Bolton.
Or at least those who've worked for him. Caitlin, fill us in. What's going on?
Well, this is out of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Maryland and the court in Maryland. John Bolton, the former national security advisor in the first Trump White House, he is set to plead guilty, and it is going to be an admission of one count of the illegal mishandling or retention of national security information, meaning classified information that he would have gotten while he was serving in that first Trump White House.
Okay, so this is one of those crimes that is like, I mean, it's one of those things that literally everybody does. You could prosecute, I think, every single former president that has ever existed could probably be prosecuted with this exact crime. I'm also sure that like 90% of national security, like CIA people, or whoever has access to secured to classified information or whatever, I guarantee you could arrest like 90% of them. They have probably all done this to some extent. So
White House.
I mean, in that regard, it is probably lawfare. Whether he did it or not, we'll see. Or like whether I think he actually did it or not, we'll see based on the rest of this video.
Now, this is a significant guilty plea because it is a plea of somebody that Donald Trump has wanted to see successfully prosecuted. Now, this case is a little bit different than some of the other cases in that it had been investigated beginning in the Biden years of the Biden presidency by the Justice Department. They built a significant amount of evidence. There was a
lawfare, bipartisan lawfare. Hell yeah.
search by the FBI of John Bolton's home last August, where they were finding documents and electronics marked secret, confidential, classified. Ultimately, Bolton had been charged in court with 18 counts. He was set to go to trial at some point, but the Justice Department has reached a plea deal with he and his attorneys. What we are expecting to happen next is that John Bolton is set for a hearing in the federal court in Maryland.
It sounds like they had a lot of evidence of him like holding on to this information, this classified information. So to be honest, he probably did it. Like I said, everybody does it though. But I want to say this though. This is a bipartisan lawfare. This was started by Biden, completed by Trump. You know what? I don't know if I would even classify it as lawfare at that point. If everybody hates you, you know, if everybody's targeting you, then maybe you've earned it. I don't think I would even classify this as lawfare at this point. I was saying that originally because it was Trump that was doing it against Bolton, and I know Trump hates Bolton. But since it is kind of bipartisan and it seems like there's evidence of, and it wasn't started by Trump, that leads me to believe that this is just more, you know, somewhat legit. Obviously, like I said, everybody does it, but it's like that's not a reason not to charge people with stuff. So,
and at the end of June, where he would theoretically tell the judge he was going to be pleading guilty to one count of retention of mishandling classified documents, retention or mishandling of classified documents, and then there would likely be a sentence. Now, that's an interesting part of this as well. We're waiting to see what the Justice Department would want. This is someone that Donald Trump has hated so much that he fired him. He tried to block the publication of his memoir when he was writing about his time serving in the first Trump White House. And what is alleged in this is that Bolton was writing himself essentially diary entries, sending them to himself and then having them printed it out for his own files, potentially as he worked on his book. That's what was found in his home.
Dude, can we just make it illegal? Can we just make it illegal for people to like write books, like write books about your time doing national security shit? I mean, okay, to be honest, I kind of personally, I don't actually agree with that because I'm pro leak. I think that every leak by any means is a good thing. Like whether it's due to incompetence or malicious intent against the nation state of America or whatever, or just straight up like corruption when it comes to like Trump's family and stuff. Like I'm sure they have tons of documents all over their houses too, like to like sell to the Saudis or whoever that is the highest bidder, right? Like I am pro leak under all circumstances, so I actually am like I am fine with all of this happening, I guess. But to all of the national like security like people like freaks who get so up in arms about our national security, don't you guys think that we should just make it illegal for these like stooges to write books, like to in any way like profit from their positions? Like, shouldn't we just make that illegal? Honestly, I could get on board if you expanded it to they should not be able to profit off of their positions in government whatsoever, right? Outside of their salary. Like if you made that a law, then I would be on board for it. But otherwise, I do want to preserve the amount of leaks that we can get of this classified information.
Notes that would have contained classified information. But the Justice Department could ask for prison time for the former national security advisor. That always doesn't happen in cases like these where it's one count of mishandling classified information. There's also a request, or at least we believe part of the agreement, where John Bolton is agreeing to pay a fine of more than $2 million. Now, we're still waiting to see the exact court documents and what they say about that agreement. We would also be waiting to see what the judge decides as far as sentencing and penalties go for John Bolton. But that would be a lot of money for someone to pay in a national security documents case like this. Still, a very significant guilty plea secured by the Justice Department and expected to be announced at some point very soon, with John Bolton headed to plead guilty at the end of June. Becky?
It'll be fascinating to see what Donald Trump posts on his social media platform about that when it is released. Caitlin, always a pleasure. Thank you.
I want to bring in our chief law enforcement and intelligence analyst, John Miller. John, what do you think? How significant is this now?
Well, this is John Bolton caught between a rock and a hard place. When he wrote this book, in the room where it happened, the Justice Department came out with a civil suit trying to block the publication because it had classified material in it. But it's been years later when the Trump Justice Department, under then Attorney General Pam Bondi, last October, and I think this is a book that came out in 2020, last October, indicted him on 18 counts, as Caitlin Pullins told us, of retaining classified information, transmitting classified.
I will say this, though. He probably shouldn't have taken the plea deal from his own personal perspective. And the reason that I say that is because this government is so far one of the most incompetent ones that has ever existed when it comes to actually handling cases. Like, they are failing spectacularly at most of their cases. Again, they're bringing against their rivals or their political enemies and stuff. So from his own perspective, if I were John Bolton and I didn't kirk myself just instantly, then I would have probably continued through and not taken the plea deal and continued through to a trial, just banking on their incompetence. That's what I would probably do. But like I said, if I was John Bolton, I'd probably kirk myself instantly.
Information and failing to disclose when it turned out that it was believed that the Iranians had hacked his computer to government officials, that there was classified information in there. So each one of those 18 counts is...
Like I said, I'm pro-leak. Whether it's Iran, whether it's Russia, whether it's China, whether it's Sudan, Saudi Arabia, Israel, I don't care. Take that info and put it online, please.
10-year count for the disclosure of national defense information. He could have been facing a significant amount of time in prison if he were convicted. Even if he was convicted and all of the charges were bundled into one 10-year or 5-year term, it's a big risk. So this guilty plea is John Bolton saying, let's get a recommendation from prosecutors on a sentence. Let's get a deal with the government.
I think I'm done with this. I've talked about Bolton enough. I don't know. I hope he does go to jail, to be honest. sounds like he did it. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry when my enemies, you know, go to jail, even if it is somewhat of a lawfare thing. But I don't necessarily, like, I know that he is the enemy of Donald Trump, but the fact that it was Biden who started this investigation just makes me kind of think that, like, I don't know, right? Like, it's not really a lawfare if it's like bipartisan, like people going after you. And as I said before, you don't, just because everybody does this exact same thing doesn't mean that you shouldn't like charge people for doing it, right? So I don't know, like if I became president, like it's like, for instance, like if I became president tomorrow, like I would go after all of these people for everything that I possibly could find on them, right? Like I would go after John Bolton. I would go after George W. Bush. I would go after Trump. I would go after, hell, I'd go after Biden. I'd go after Obama too. He did a lot of war crimes. We could probably find something on him. Like I'd go after like all of these people and try to throw them in jail for as long as I possibly could. Now people, like, I guess that would be what considered lawfare, but it's like I'm not going after them for like, I'm going after them for being bad people, right? Like I'm going after them for doing crimes. And so I guess in that regard, it's not really lawfare. If it would be different if I was going after them for like speech or something, right? Or going after them for yeah, that sort of stuff. So anyway, that's kind of my opinion on it. Rest in peace, John Bolton. Once you die, well, hopefully you'll rot in a cell for a little while. But I honestly kind of doubt that he's gonna actually like go to jail. Maybe he will, but he's I don't know. I'm kind of doubtful that he's going to actually go to jail. I think he's just going to pay a fine and maybe be like forced to apologize or something.